How do you deal with rejection? And how do you recover from the hurt and pain of rejection? We'll discuss this and more in this episode. How do you deal with rejection? Well, there are good ways to deal with rejection, and there are not so good ways to deal with rejection. So here are the bad ways to deal with rejection. Number one, pretending like it didn't happen. That's the worst thing you can do as it relates to dealing with rejection. When you pretend something did not happen, what you're actually doing is dismissing the value and significance of who you are as a developing person through the lifespan. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be listened to. You deserve to be understood. And when you tell yourself or you act as if something traumatic, because a rejection can be a traumatic experience. So when you act as if, it did not happen, what you're actually doing is you're creating layers, you're building a foundation to accept anything that comes your way. Everyone deals with rejection. Everyone is going to be told no multiple times in their lives. Lots of us are going to be rejected in one way or another. Another unhealthy way to deal with rejection is to ignore your emotions. We are human beings. We're sapient. We're sentient. We have a range of emotions that we encounter and deal with and experience on a daily basis. So when you're faced with a rejection, you don't want to ignore your emotions. You want to pay attention to what's happening because oftentimes your emotions are messengers to give clarity to the situation. Number 3, dwelling on the rejection for too long. I have a friend who cannot deal with rejection. If he applies for a job and he's turned down for that position, he's going to mope about that for days and weeks and months, like literally. Now, he's doing a good thing by expressing his emotions. He's not pretending like it did not happen, but he's also going down this rabbit hole of dwelling on the rejection for so long that all he sees after that is negativity. He doesn't look at the situation objectively. So when you dwell on a rejection for too long and you treat it subjectively without really giving it an emotional and intellectual experience, you can misinterpret what's actually going on. And oftentimes what you thought was intentional was perhaps unintentional. So what is rejection? Rejection is the unintentional or intentional dismissal of one's expectation or person. Here's an example of an intentional dismissal of an expectation. So you're an accountant and you've been doing accounting for, let's say, 10 years. You're working at this accounting firm and you decide you need a raise. So you go to your boss and you articulate the raise you're looking for, the number, you give your boss the number, and you explain why you believe you deserve the raise. So your boss comes back and tells you that, hey, the raise that you're looking for is usually reserved for someone who's a CPA, a certified public accountant. And because you're not a certified public accountant, the company cannot justify giving you that raise. Well, that was an intentional dismissal of an expectation. Now, here's the contrast, which is the intentional dismissal of a person. You're working for this company. You're an accountant. You've been with this company for some time. You go to your boss. You ask your boss for a raise. And your boss comes back to you and say, listen, the company can't justify giving you what you're looking for since our clients, they're looking for, male accountants. And you're a female accountant, so that's not really going to sit well with our clients. That's a rejection of not only your expectation, but of your person. Let's talk about the good ways to handle rejection. Number 1, acknowledge that it happened. Rejection takes place. Rejection happens. Everyone deals with no. Everyone hears no. It's a fact of life. Acknowledge that the rejection took place because it did happen. There are 2 things that are always true about rejection. It happens. And number 2, there's a selfish component behind it. I'll explain that in a little bit more details later on. So number 1, acknowledge that it happened. Number 2, camp in the place of your emotions. When you experience a rejection where you're feeling like there's a loss, perhaps you intended on marrying this woman, you proposed to her. She gave you all indications that you guys were going to be married. You guys set a date. You guys talked about everything as it relates to the wedding. 6 months into the engagement, she comes and she tells you the wedding is off. And not only is the wedding off, I'm breaking up with you. That's traumatic. That will shake anyone at their core. Absolutely will. By acknowledging what has happened, it's giving you the tools you need to process the happening, process that event in a healthy way so you are not lingering in that traumatic experience for too long. Number 3, maintain a positive outlook. Life happens. Things happen. That's just life. Remember I said that there are 2 things that are true of rejection. The first is rejection happens. The second is rejection often has a selfish component to it. And here's an example. So you meet with your banker and you guys are going over the details of a business plan. You plan to start a business in 2 years and you need to know from the banker exactly what you're going to need to qualify for a loan to help fund the operation and the opening of that business. Your banker sits you down. Your banker gives you all that information. In fact, you're a private client of that bank. 2 years pass. You go to the banker that you dealt with 2 years ago and you say, listen, my credit is still good. It's in the upper 700s. I am here to apply for this loan, and here's my paperwork. Less than 24 hours later, the bank comes to you and tells you that you've been rejected. Here's something to know about rejection, the selfish part of rejection. There are certain institutions and people who see themselves as gatekeepers. Gatekeepers to prevent you from experiencing the greatness you deserve to experience. Listen, it does not matter who the gatekeeper is. If greatness is for you, there isn't any force, there isn't any power, there isn't anything or anyone that can stop you from achieving the greatness you deserve. Nobody can stop you. No institution can stop you. That bank, Chase Bank, that thought by denying me that $150,000 that they were going to thwart or impede or get in the way of my business aspirations, get in the way of what the universe had for me. They thought that by denying me that I was going to be put in my place. Here's the takeaway from all of this. On the other side of rejection is something phenomenal created just for you. Neville's law of assumption says all things exist. So if all things exist, that means I can be, do, and have anything that I want. Visualize it long enough. Live in the end from the wish fulfilled. See myself as already having that business, not worrying about how it's going to come about, and it's going to happen. The gatekeepers at Chase, they denied me $150,000. Now today, my business is worth 10x what I was asking for. You can't stop greatness. You can't stop greatness. It doesn't matter what rejection you've dealt with. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with rejection today, right now. It doesn't matter who told you no. Believe in yourself. If you believe in your inherent power to defy the odds, to do the improbable, to do the impossible, there isn't any power, there isn't any force that can stop you. You're destined for greatness. Rejection stinks. Rejection sucks. It hurts. But don't linger in that place for too long. As a manifester, as a mystic, think from, don't think of. Think from the place of fulfillment. Think from the place of accomplishment. Revise the scene if you don't like it. If this entity tells you no, revise the scene and construct a scene where you see someone telling you yes. Tell yourself yes. If you tell yourself yes, it doesn't matter who tells you no. If you tell yourself that you're worth $10 million, it doesn't matter who tells you that you're worth $100,000. That's their opinion. So let's recap. When you deal with a rejection, acknowledge what happened. Camp in the place of your emotions. Not too long, but acknowledge your emotions. And number 3, maintain a positive outlook. Live from the end. Always live from. Don't dwell in the state of what happened. Dwell from the state of who you already are. Because remember, all things exist. If all things exist, that means your being, doing, and having are already completed and fulfilled. And all you're doing is unfolding and expanding daily, moving closer to your mission and purpose. Whether it's rejection or anything else, remember, whatever has your attention has your life. Don't allow rejection to own you. You're much greater than any obstacle that comes your way. And remember, whatever follows I am, you become.